one of my favorite tools for hard chargers. And one of the things that really helped me overcome my colitis and helped me learn how to relax and chill is the float tank. And I owned a float tank. I had one in my gym. I I don't recommend owning one. There's just so much salt and it gets into everything. It's a lot of maintenance to keep that thing going. So I recommend going to a float center. There's plenty of them now. When I had my float tank, there wasn't that many. Now they're everywhere. And I'm also going to give you some alternatives to the float tank if you can't go to use one. But I love the float tank because our modern world is just so go 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 all the time. It's just like phones and scrolling, and we never really get a chance to calm down and relax. The float tank is the complete opposite of that. And I love the float tank, particularly for people that are like busy professionals. They've got a job, they've got family, they've got, they're trying to push really hard. Maybe you're in medical school, maybe you're, becoming an attorney. You've got all sorts of things going on, or you suffer from burnout. You've been burned out. You've worked too hard for too long. The float tank is a great way to kind of recharge your system and get things rolling. So for those of you that don't know what it is, it's basically either a room or a pod. It has about 6 inches of water. They keep it around body temperature so that the salt stays dissolved in the water. But you literally dump, I can't remember exactly how much weight, but it's hundreds of pounds of Epsom salt. So you literally float on top. And so you're getting the Epsom salt absorbed through the skin. So that helps a lot with relaxation. A lot of people, report pain relief. Many will say because of the magnesium. I'd also say because your nervous system, you're literally getting a chance to relax and unwind. And then the tanks or the room will have when you're done, it'll flush the water through like a UV system, through a filter system. But I mean, you've got 500 pounds of Epsom salt in the water. Like there's probably no more sterile place on earth than other than your mother's womb than that float water. So you get in there, and a lot of people will freak out in the beginning because their mind will start racing. They don't know what to do. It's just like I was like this too, and I just simply put the tongue in the roof of my mouth, calm down, tried to breathe and slow everything down. I put like some Enya on the first time I got in there. I usually do my hands above my head, and then the key is if you just totally let go. And I'd been working on this when I got colitis. I looked through all like the causes, and of course it was like happened there. But when I first started floating, I had a really hard time shutting my brain off. And I had started practicing this using binaural beats. I started using binaural beats. I would just put the headphones on. And there's a funny story. I was going to a conference in Austin. It was Paleo FX, and I put on my headset and I put on my binaural beats, and I actually went to sleep, and I missed my flight. So it was pretty funny. But people today, like and myself included, we're so going in our head all the time. We never really truly relax. And so the float tank for me it forced me to have an appointment. And when you're really busy and you're working hard, you got things going on, you got to schedule this stuff. Like when I work with people that are in a bad place, that professionals, usually they're hardworking people. Like if it's not on the schedule, they don't do it. Right. So I tell them to put in the schedule, like your float tank session every other week or once a week. I found once a week works the best. It literally, with my data, it would literally improve my sleep. My sleep would be better for the entire week. My digestion would be better. I'd be more relaxed. Some tips about the float tank: don't do it like if you have a big meeting. Like don't do it halfway through the day and have a meeting in the afternoon. Like I prefer to do it at the end of the day. Like I did a float tank session once in between my morning and evening sessions at the gym. It was useless. I was so relaxed, I couldn't coach. I had one lady do a float session before she drove home, and I called her and I said, "How you doing?" She's like, "That's the first time I've driven below the speed limit in my life." So it's very powerful, particularly if you let go. The first time I went in there, I just completely passed out. And then there were other times where I'd get in there and I'd be fine, like half an hour, 40 minutes, and then I'd kind of wake up. And a lot of times I would move around in different ways. I'd kind of move and shift around, move my arms in ways that I can't move, in normal life, kind of get, fluid and shift around a little bit in the float tank. That was very good. And I always didn't force myself to stay in there. If I didn't feel like I needed to stay in there, generally I'd do an hour session. Generally, sometimes I would pass out and wake up with the jets come on. That's how they wake you up. They put like music and the jets come on, you wake up, and you shower before you get in, you shower before you get off, you get out. And generally if I woke up and I felt like I had enough, I would get out. And generally my body would tell me exactly what I needed. But It's a great tool to combat this crazy, crazy world. And I think twice a month would be a minimum, and then every week would be ideal. Some places will allow you to combine a massage. I'll tell you what, if you do float tank session and then get a massage, it's incredible, because the float tank causes your nervous system to relax, which actually causes your muscles to relax. And I would say I've had some really good massage therapists over the years, but I would say the float tank is right up there with a good massage therapist, because once the nervous system relaxes, the muscles relax. It, you know, improves your breathing mechanics because you're lined up exactly the way you need to be to breathe. So it just calms everything down. Well, let's go start the system here in a minute. But some alternatives to the float tank are just going out in nature. That's one of the alternatives there is. Go out in nature, just sit in a park somewhere, relax, breathe, calm down. The other alternative is restorative yoga. I love that one. And the reason I love like restorative yoga or float tank is because you have accountability. Like, you have to book the appointment. Usually, well, restorative yoga, usually you just show up, but hopefully you're going to a place that you have to book the appointment, because that's where we see true change. People that are true busy professionals, unless they have a pain point, like if, they pay and they don't show up, they need to have some accountability. So restorative yoga, Tai Chi is also really good as well. Tai Chi works really, really well, and you can do that anytime. So if you combine one float session a week or one restorative yoga session a week, and with the restorative yoga, that's where they prop you up in different positions and have you breathe. So it's kind of like being in a float tank. I would do one restorative yoga session a week and then walk outside 3 times a day for 10 minutes, breathing through your nose, making it an observation exercise. And if you do that, check and see what's going on. But I appreciate you being here. You can join my Vitality Brotherhood, Vitality Sisterhood.